We're going to talk about how to stay dry at Walt Disney World. Okay, so we got more music here.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a
It's Bing
glorious
Crosby.
feeling, I'm happy again.
Singing in the rain. How do you stay dry at Walt Disney World? Well, let's start out by talking about how Mrs. Mom and I stayed dry on our trip in November. End of October, 1st of November. We didn't get wet at all. A whole week there, we didn't get wet at all. How did we do it? It didn't rain. It was pretty easy. It didn't rain, so we didn't have much problem staying dry that week. But, you know, that's very unusual. It rains in Florida a lot. It's not unusual for it to rain, especially in the summertime, June through September, for it to rain every day, several days in a row. Afternoon showers, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a quick shower will come. Sometimes it rains for days and days, but it rains a lot in Florida. So it's kind of important that you have a plan to stay dry during the rain when it gets wet at Walt Disney World. So what do? Well, some tips from Dad. Number one is bring extra shoes. Way back, I think it was our second trip with the kids. We went in December. The first thing we were going to do was Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. Just going to have, we got into town in the afternoon. We were going to do the party in the evening and then start our trip off right at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. And guess what? It rained all night long. Well, number one thing I say about rain is poncho up and soldier on. You know, we put our ponchos on. We started doing all this stuff. It wasn't raining hard, but it was raining enough to where we were getting pretty wet, even with our ponchos on. You know, it was cold too, so we had our sweatshirts on, and everybody from about here down on their arms was all wet. The bottom of our pants were all wet, and our shoes were just soaked. Well, I'd only brought one pair of shoes. So my shoes were wet. The next morning when we got up to go to the next part, my shoes were wet. It rained all day that day too, and it rained all day the next day too. So we had 3 days of rain, and I was wearing wet shoes those whole 3 days and the next day. And it took like 2 days for my shoes to dry out because I'd always put them on. There was just no chance for them to dry out. So one thing you want to have is an extra pair of shoes. I know Stephanie, my assistant that's doing all the comments down below, she said she brings 5 pairs of shoes. I said, how big a suitcase do you carry? But she says, no, there's sandals in there. But anyway, Mrs. Mom always takes at least 2 pairs of shoes, and if we are going to church on Sunday, it'll be 3 pairs of shoes. So bring extra shoes. Best thing I can tell you to do. Next is when it starts to rain, duck into a gift shop, duck into a restaurant, duck into one of those long rides. Especially this is those summertime quick showers. You know, just get in somewhere where it's dry. Those things usually go by in about 15, 20, 30 minutes. Eat some lunch. Just plan some time in the dry. There's plenty of places around Walt Disney World where you can stay dry. The next thing, no, when it comes to rides, there are some rides there that will get you wet. Splash Mountain sometimes gets people wet. Cali River Rapids, now that one will get you wet, especially when it comes to shoes. One of the things you might want to do on Cali River Rapids, I don't care if you want to get a little wet, one of the things you might want to do is kind of wear some sandals or something, water shoes, some kind of water shoes, and take those and wear them just for that ride. Because usually there's water down in the bottom, and especially after you go through the rapids, there'll be water down in the bottom of the boat in Cali River Rapids. That one's going to get you wet. Throw on a poncho, throw on the water shoes, take your socks off, but get ready be ready, be prepared. I'm all about being prepared. Be prepared for getting wet at Cali River Rapids. A couple others that you might get a little bit wet on. I know we got a little sprinkle on Frozen Ever After when you're going down the rapids a little bit. Got a little wet on Frozen Ever After. Pirates. There are a couple places where you get a little splash in Pirates. And the spitting camels in the Aladdin spitting camels. Of course, if you got kids, they are going to want to go to Casey Jr. Splash Pad where lots and lots of water. You got the Epcot, the fountains that shoot up, the splash pads around Epcot. So there are lots of places to get wet at Walt Disney World. Just be prepared. Pack in your backpack. Pack extra socks. Mrs. Mom's always got 2 or 3 pairs of socks in our backpack. Bring baggies. You can always put wet clothes in baggies if you need to change clothes. Something to keep things dry. Bring a towel. I know why would you bring a towel? Say you're going to ride Splash Mountain. One thing about Splash Mountain is when you get into the boat, you step on the seat. And a lot of times those seats get dirty with people's feet. They might get a little wet and people's feet stepping on them. They leave dirt. Wipe that off before you get in with the towel. Use the towel to dry off if you get wet. But bring a towel. Take one out of the room and take it with you. That's something a little way to be prepared. When all else fails, if you get too wet, there's a gift shop on every corner, and most of the gift shops has cool clothes that you can buy. So that's another way you can stay dry. But the bottom line is it rains, it's wet at Walt Disney World, and you just need to be prepared. Think about it before you go. How are you going to stay dry at Walt Disney World?
Thanks so much for watching Dad's video. For more simple, fun, magic Walt Disney World information, go to Dad's Guide to WDW.com. You can do that by clicking the I button that's popping up on the screen right now. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and get more Dad's YouTube videos with Daditude.